First, we're starting with the warm-up. Solve 5 minus 2x is less than 7. Raise your hand if you think you have an answer. Okay, Jamarion. Okay, anything different, Layla? Okay, anything different? Okay. All right, let's see. We need to solve and get x by itself. This is a positive 5, so we start by subtracting it so it'll cancel. 5 minus 5 is 0. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Now you bring down the negative 2x, bring down the less than sign, and 7 minus 5 is 2. Now to get x by itself, you need to separate those. They're being multiplied, so you do division. Correct. Since you're dividing by a negative number, you flip the sign and you get x is greater than negative 1. Okay, now turn to page 3 in your packet. Yeah, page 3. We didn't finish all of it. We're done with it. Page 3. We're in 2C. All right, number 7. In 2005, Joe planted a tree that was 3 feet tall. In 2010, it was 13 feet tall. A says to find the rate of change. To find the rate of change, you do the exact same thing as you do to find slope. Okay, and how do you find slope? Rise over run, but there's a formula. Correct. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But to be able to use that formula, we have to have what? Correct. 2 points. Did they give us 2 points? Okay, what's the first point? Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know where y'all... This graph has nothing to do with number 7. Correct. The first point is 2005, comma 3. 2005 will be your x value, and in that year it was 3 feet tall. So what would your second point be? Okay, so this will be my x1, y1, and this will be my x2, y2. Now I just plug them in the formula where they go. So it'll be m equals y2 minus y1, so that's 13 minus 3, over x2 minus x1, which is 2010 minus 2005. Okay, and that's correct. That does become 10 over 5, and then that reduces to 2 over 1. Correct. However, you're right, but for the purpose of this problem, it's better to leave it as 2 over 1 so that you understand what the rate of change is. 2 is 2 what? 2 feet. Because weren't all the numbers in the numerator feet? 13 feet, 3 feet? What's this 1? Year. So that means the tree is growing at a rate of 2 feet per year. So if it's growing at a rate of 2 feet per year, and it was 13 feet tall in 2010, how tall was it in 2013? 19 feet tall. Okay, let's talk about how they got that. It's growing 2 feet per year. So from 2010 to 2013, that's 3 years. 2 feet per year is 6 feet. On top of that, 13 feet brings us to 19 feet. So now if it's 19 feet tall, how tall will it be 50 years from then? Well, think about it. 119. If it's growing at a rate of 2 feet per year, 50 years from now, that's 100 feet growth on top of the 19 it was already, 119 feet. Okay, turn to page 4. Page 4. Okay, so last week we learned how to find slope, and we learned how to find it from 3 different things. Like say that you were given the equation y equals 4/3 x minus 1. What's the slope? 4/3. That's the easiest way. You just look at it and find the number in the in place. We also learned how to find it given 2 points. How do you find it given 2 points? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So in this case, you would do 4 minus 2 over 3 minus 1, and that would give you a slope of 2 over 2, which is 1. And then we also learned how to find it when you were given a table of values. And how would you do that? Well, let me make these different. Okay, how would you find the slope given a table? Choose 2 points and then plug them in the same formula, right? Or let me show you another way. When there's an obvious pattern, don't we all know that slope is known as rise over run? Okay, well, don't you rise up or down? Okay, well, isn't up and down the y-axis? And then you run left and right like the x-axis. Your y's are going up by 3. So the y value is positive 3. The x's are going up by 1, so this one has a slope of 3 over 1. And you could have also gotten that had you picked 2 points and plugged them in the formula. But when you're given a table and it's an obvious pattern, it's really easier to just look at the pattern. The y pattern goes on top, the x pattern goes on bottom, because rise over run, y over x. But if you can't do it, like say you don't notice a pattern, pick 2 points, plug them in the slope formula. Okay, so that's what we learned how to do last week. This week, we're going to be learning how to find the y-intercept. Okay, if I ask you to plot the point 0, 3, you don't have to write this, just pay attention. How would you plot the point 0, 3? Correct. You don't move left or right because the x value is 0. So you don't go left or right. All you do is go up 3 units on the y-axis and plot a point. A point on the y-axis is also known as a y-intercept. So how would you plot the point 0, -1? Just go down 1. You don't move left or right because the x value is 0. You just go down 1 and it lands on the y-axis, so it's a y-intercept. So the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So if you're given a table of values and in the x column you have a 0, you can easily identify the y-intercept. In this one it's 1. So what's the y-intercept in the next table? And then in the next one? Right. Okay, but what should we do if we don't have a 0 in the x column? Right, you have to find the pattern. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wouldn't the 0 have been right here? Well, what's going on with the y values? They're going up by 4, so if you go backwards, it would have been 7. So the y-intercept is 7. Now, last week, we learned how to find the m by just picking 2 of these points and plugging them in the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But just a second ago, I showed you another way to do it if there's a visible pattern, and is there? Yes, remember, rise over run, and so that's y over x. And so what are the y's going up or down by? 4. They're going up by 4, so that's a positive 4. What are the x's going up? Right, so the slope is 4 over 1 or just 4. Okay, so the equation of the line would be y equals 4x plus 7. Remember though, if you can't easily find the pattern and do it this way, pick 2 points, plug them in the formula. It takes a little longer, but sometimes it's necessary. Okay, now let's try this one. First, find the slope. Can you see a pattern? What's going on in the y's? They're going up by 2, so the rise is positive 2. What's going on in your x values? So your run is positive 1. Your slope is 2 over 1. Okay, what's the y-intercept? -4. You find your y-intercept by looking where x is 0. Because if x is 0, you don't move left or right. You just go up or down the y-axis to plot your point, and that's the y-intercept. So now if your y-intercept is -4, the final equation is y equals 2x minus 4. There's no need to put a plus a negative. You can just put minus 4. Okay, now turn to page 5. Okay, let's start with the second one first because it's a little easier. Okay, first we'll find the slope, and then we'll find the y-intercept. Is there a clear pattern in this table for both sides? I don't see a pattern. It goes down by 6, but does it go down by 6 again? No. So how are we going to find the slope this time? Pick 2 points. What 2 points do you want to use? Okay. 6, negative 14, 8, negative 20. Okay, so when you're plugging them in the slope formula, it'll be negative 20 minus negative 14 over... Okay, what happens when you have a minus a negative? Okay, and what is negative 20 plus 14? And what is 8 minus 6? And what does that simplify to? Right, so your slope is negative 3. So we have half of our answer. Now we need the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? Correct. It's easy because there's a 0 in the table for x. So now the equation will be y equals negative 3x plus 4. Yes, that's fine. Okay, now let's look over here at this table. Is there a 0 in the x column where you can easily find the y-intercept? No. Can you easily figure out the slope? No. So you don't have to write this. I just want you to watch, okay? Because more than likely you're not going to want to do it this way, but I want you just to watch. Okay, it starts at 2. So I'm going to write 2, skip 3, write 4, skip 5, 6, 7, skip 8, and then I'll just stop at 9 for right now. 2's y value was 5, 4's y value was 13, 7's y value was 25, and 9's y value was 33. Now I'm going to fill in the missing pieces of the table. There would have been a 1 here and a 0 there, which is what we want to see because we want to see the y value that goes with that. There would have been a 3 here, a 5, 6, and then an 8. How do you get from 5 to 13? 8. So that means what needs to go right here? 9. Because 8 split in half would be 4, correct? 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. Now let's make sure 4 really is our number. 13 plus 4 is, 17 plus 4 is, 21 plus 4 is, 25 plus 4 is, and 29 plus 4 is. So we know that up 4 is our number. So if we go opposite and go down 4, this would be a 1 and this would be a negative 3. So that lets us know right away that our y-intercept is negative 3. Now let's find our slope by picking 2 points. Which 2 do you want to use? Okay, so that'll be what minus what over which becomes or just 4, and isn't that what we saw was the pattern in the y's? Up 4, and then these are all going up by 1, 4 over 1. Minus 3. Okay, but I'm sure there are not many of you that are going to want to have to recreate the table. So I'm going to show you another way to do this. Okay, this way I want you to write down. Well, I told you not to do the table. Okay. This is an easier way. Your whole goal here is to get the equation in slope-intercept form, correct? Well, once you use 2 points and find the m, we can replace the m with a 4. We can't replace the b because we don't know it. That's what we're trying to figure out. But we can replace y and x because we have lots of y's and we have lots of x's. You just have to choose one to work with. Which point do you want to work with? Okay, if we choose 933, 9 is the x value, so it'll go right here beside the 4. 33 is the y value, so it'll go in the y place. Now you just solve for b. 33 equals 36 plus b, and then you subtract 36 to get b by itself, and you get negative 3 equals b. So that's another way to do it, which I think will be faster than trying to recreate the table and find the pattern. Whatever way you want. Okay, now on your homework on page 7, you were probably only able to do part of 13 and 14, so I want you to go back now to page 7 and look at number 13 and 14 and finish. Y equals mx plus b is our goal, so we need to figure out the m and the b. We all know how to find the m. You just do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or you can simply look for a pattern. Are the y's increasing or decreasing by the same amount every time? They're increasing by, so the rise is positive 2. What about the x's? They're going up by 1, so your run is positive 1. Now we need to find the b, and since there's an obvious pattern in the table, we can just continue it. If this is all going up by 1, then this would be, and this would be 0. If these are going up by 2, this would be, and this would be 24. So your b is 24. So your final equation is y equals 2x plus 24. Okay, now let's look at number 14. Is there a pattern? What is the rise? No. 3. What is the run? Right. The y's are increasing by 2. The runs are increasing by 2. So 3 over 2. The rise is increasing by 3. The run is increasing by 2. Okay, now if that's what's going on, what would be the next x value? Then, and then 0, which is the one we're looking for. The next y value would be, so again, this one has a y-intercept of 24, so the equation is y equals 3 over 2x plus 24. Okay, turn to page 8. All right, 2 more of these before we move to something different. You mean the other way I taught you? Yeah, I can do this one that way. Okay. Okay. I'm going to do number 14 the other way. First, we find the slope, and that would be 6 minus 3 over negative 12. I know, I'm just... Okay, so but we still end up with a slope of 3 over 2, right? So now in the m place, I'm going to plug in that 3 over 2. I don't know the b. I'm going to replace the x and the y. What? That's probably your problem. It's 3 over 2. Your y's are going up by 3, so you should have a rise of 3. Your runs are going up by 2. And then if you picked a point, like if you pick this point, negative 6 would go in the x place, 15 would go in the y place. That would become 15 equals negative 9, right? And then add 9 to both sides, and you still get a 24. Okay, next page. Number 15. Is there a pattern that you can follow? No. So we're going to have to pick 2 points to find the slope. I'll just pick the first two. 216 and 510. So that's y2 minus y1, which would be 10 minus 16, over x2 minus x1, which is 5 minus 2. That becomes a negative 6 over 3, which then becomes a negative 2. So we have our slope. Now to find the b, since there's no visible 0 in the x column, let's use the new way I taught you. Y equals mx plus b, but I'm going to now replace the y, the m, and the x, and then solve for b. What can I replace the m with? Negative 2. And then there's many choices for replacing the x and the y. What do you want to replace them with? Okay, if I pick 2 and 16, 16 is the y, 2 is the x. That becomes 16 equals negative 4 plus b. And then what do I do? Add 4, so b equals 20. So that means the equation is y equals negative 2x plus 20. Okay, now let's try number 16. Do you need to pick 2 points, or can you? No, there's a pattern. 2 over 3. You've got to remember, if you're going by pattern, the y number is the top number for rise, and then the x is going on the bottom for run. Okay, the y's are increasing by 2, the x's are increasing by 3, so 2 over 3. Now to find the b, no. You can do a pattern. If this was 6, 3, then this would have been 0, and then this would have been 0, because they're going up by 2, so if you go down by, it's just 0. The line crosses through at 0. So y equals 2/3 x, you don't have to write plus 0. Now turn back to page 5. Yeah, we've already done this year. Is this it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Now we are about to graph a line given the equation of the line. We've already done this year, so this should not be hard at all. Y equals 2x plus 1. What is the slope of that line? 2 over 1. Okay, if you put 2, that's okay, but since you're graphing it, you want to make it a fraction so that you have a rise and a run. What is the y-intercept? Okay, so now to graph it, what do you do first? And then from there? Or instead of going up to right 1, you could also go correct, and then just connect your points with a line, and you are done with that line. Yeah, but let me pick a different color. That's all you do for those. Okay, now let's move over to the right. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. What is the slope? And what is the y-intercept? Okay, so to put it on the graph, what do we do first? And then from there? Correct. No, you need to go right, because think about it. You want your line going down because it's a negative slope. Or instead of going down and right, you can go up and left. Yeah, you want your line to go down because it's got a negative slope. Okay, then the third one. What is the slope? First, you have to rewrite it into slope-intercept form. You don't need to do that. Because you want it y equals mx plus b. Well, you've already got equals mx, and your y, you just need to add the 8 to the other side. So now we have 4y equals 2x plus 8. You can't combine those because 8 doesn't have an x on it. Now what do you do? Divide by 4. So y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So the m is 1/2, the b is 2. So you plot your y-intercept at 2, and then you just go up 1, right 2, or down 1, left 2. Then you connect your points with a line. Okay, we still have some time in here, so we're not switching out. You can go ahead and start your homework. 8 and 9. 8 is graphing lines, 9 is writing the equation from the table.